Hi, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants, reacting to the Giants' loss on Monday Night Football to the Cowboys, 16-23. Giants fall to 2-1, and Brian Dable suffers his first loss as the Giants head coach. I don't really like asking this stuff after a loss, but like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is a lot different than the first 2 weeks of the season, because the first 2 weeks of the season the offense wasn't good, but a lot of that was on Daniel Jones. Well, not tonight. The Giants let Daniel Jones down tonight versus the Cowboys. He he made some plays, man. He had 79 rushing yards, and I know we joke about like make it happen, how it's like people just say that when they don't know what they're talking about. But he made stuff happen out of broken plays all night, whether that was gaining yards on the ground, or just making off balance throws, just hanging in the pocket, just last second, trying to get into it, and he was let down. He was let down by his offensive line and by his wide receivers. Really, the only people that didn't let him down was Daniel Bellinger and Saquon Barkley. We'll start with the offensive line. Left guard to right tackle got worked all game. He was sacked 5 times, pressured 25 times, the most in his career, the most in an NFL game this season, and that's saying something. So this was the most in an NFL game this season for a QB to be pressured. Coming into Week 3, Daniel Jones was the highest, was the most pressured quarterback in the NFL at 36.6%, so over 1 in 3 dropbacks. And Mike Kafka knew this, like, going into this game. Like, he knew the offensive line was going to be an issue. There was a ton of play action, a lot of RPO stuff in the first half. Ended up, like, getting Bellinger open, who had 4 catches for 40 yards. So I actually thought, like, the offensive game plan was fine. It was just players let them down. Evan Neal gave up 3 sacks. He gave up 3 of the 5. He's just got to move his feet better through the blocks. Like, he's been able to get to his blocks, but once he's connected, he's just not moving his feet through them. We saw this in training camp. We've seen this the first 2 weeks of the season, but Dallas did a much better job taking advantage of it compared to the Titans and the Panthers. They were just able to take advantage of it all game long. I'm not exactly sure who to blame the most from from Bredesen, Feliciano, and Glowinski, but they were getting pressure up the middle all game, and the Giants couldn't do they couldn't do straight drop back passes because there was just so much pressure up the middle. And then obviously Evan Neal was having his issues. I don't think Andrew Thomas had a perfect game. I got to rewatch, but there was multiple times where it's just like he's locking his guy up, and everything else around him is an issue. And then the wide receivers. He made tough plays in the pocket and escaping, and the wide receivers let him down. You had that Kenny Galladay play that got called back for offensive pass interference, maybe a bogus call. But that took plays point or yards off the board, and Sterling Shepard had a 3rd down drop. Then he had that huge drop in the 4th quarter that looked like a fumble, and then he has a non-contact injury, so it looks like Shep's probably done for the year. Obviously, that hasn't been reported, but the way he went down, it looked like someone shot him from the stands like a sniper. So that's frustrating. David Sills slipped at the end of the game. That turned into an interception. Like, the Giants still had a chance. They still had a chance. And you get a dig route to David Sills. He slips. Interception to Trayvon Diggs. Kenny Galladay drop. Could have made, he had that drop on 3rd and long. And then the 4th down at the end of the half. I know people will debate this, but he runs that slant. Daniel Jones throws it behind him, but he kind of had to throw it behind him because the corner made a jump on it and had that inside leverage. Not an easy catch for Kenny Galladay by any stretch of the imagination, but Kenny Galladay's kind of got to make those catches. You have to make those tough catches. That's why he was signed, not by this regime. But if you're in there, you got to make plays. Like, Daniel Jones made plays that weren't where stuff was all bad around him. Like, Kenny Galladay's got to make that play. So just a very frustrating game that, like, Daniel Jones made stuff happen and the offense around him let him down. Saquon also played well. He had the only touchdown of the game and 126 total yards. Had some some tough runs in between the tackles. He got a screen called back, and then obviously the 36-yard touchdown was really beautiful. Like, Saquon looks good. I'm interested to look at the total rushing yards for the NFL, but he had 84 on the ground and then another 46 in the air. So Saquon showed up. But defensively, because you give up 23 points to Cooper Rush, and you're going to be frustrated. Like, you can't let Cooper Rush go 12 of 13 in the second half, which is what Cooper Rush did. So I've got to go and rewatch to see exactly what Wink Martindale was doing. But what I did notice was players not performing well, not doing their job. And I think it people need to start valuing Leonard Williams because he was missed severely, and especially in the run game. The Cowboys had 178 yards on 28 carries. That's 6.3 yards per carry, and they were getting runs. And when they need, when they're just like, hey, we want to run some clock, they were able to get those runs. That was very frustrating. So, in years past, you could maybe get away with Leonard Williams missing a game, even though he'd never missed a game until tonight, Monday night. But the D-line depth is really bad after him and Dexter Lawrence. Had Henry Mondeau playing a lot of snaps. Do you know who Henry Mondeau is? Exactly. Justin Ellis, he's kind of just a nose tackle who's big. Nick Williams wasn't able to make any plays. So you pair that with the linebackers are just not good. Like, we knew that even after, that's not a new revelation after Monday night. That's been known for the season. They're slow processing. They don't play their gaps well. And Tay Crowder's got to wrap up on that Ezekiel Elliott touchdown. But Austin Calitro, and I think he got benched after this, but he gave that big run to Tony Pollard. That was an unexcusable run fit. Like, he undercuts that play, and it's like, what are you doing, man? Play your gap. Play your gap and trust your D lineman to play his gap. And that leads to, a huge play by Tony Pollard in the beginning of the game. Like, you just can't have that type of stuff. So the linebackers are just slow processing, and when you pair that with not playing discipline, you're going to have issues. And the edge wasn't set well from the outside linebacker, so they didn't do him any favors. No pass rush. Kayvon Thibodeau, now, don't overreact this one game, but he did suck in this game. It doesn't mean that he's a bust or anything, but he did suck in this game. But coming off an injury, I'm not going to overanalyze Kayvon Thibodeau. Azeez had some good plays, drew a couple holding penalties, but I thought he struggled in run defense a few times. But again, the pass rush was just non-existent without Leonard Williams, without much edge presence. We knew Jihad and O'Shane weren't really rushing the passer well at all anyways before, but you're able to simulate pressure. Didn't see as much as that from Wink Martindale. Again, I'm interested to see exactly why they did that. CeeDee Lamb had a good game. Some of those definitely were on Adoree Jackson. Interested to see which ones were on him. Because they weren't all on Adoree Jackson, but this was probably the most yards that you'll see Adoree Jackson gave up as a New York Giant. If you go back to last year, I think that would probably be it. Maybe the Washington game, week 2 last year on Thursday Night Football. But hey, when you're not able to get pressure on the QB at all, that's going to get an offense rolling. And they have talent. I know they have Cooper Rush as a QB, but they have talent, and Cooper Rush gets the ball out quick. And when he wants to hang in there and throw the ball downfield, he's like, there was no velocity on his throws. He was just finding guys open. So it's hard to see all that stuff on the TV copy, but rough game for the Giants, man. Bounce back. You got to bounce back versus this Bears team. So make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll have O-line reports out, film review, podcast Monday morning, mailbag, all that good stuff. And I'll be doing all in the middle of a hurricane, so come support. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you when we see you. Let's go Big Blue.